back to the messaging. As we began the show, John Harbaugh took one approach, Sarah, related to Todd Monken's play calling on Sunday in Kansas City, and he certainly took a very different one when it came to that of Todd Monken's.
Zach Orr, you mean? Yes, very different with Zach Orr. We've got the audio on that. So we just showed him eviscerating Todd Monken's play calling. Here he is with Zach Orr, whose defense is last in the league in points allowed per game and second to last in yards allowed per game.
It's on all of our guys, including Zach, our players, our coaches. I watch our guys every day. I watch how they work. I watch how well they coach. I'm in meetings. I watch the meetings. I know the schemes that we're running. I know the soundness of what we're doing. I understand who's, what we're up against, from week to week and play to play. Even in this game, this is a challenging game against, good offense. They were healthy. They got their guys back. And complementary football-wise, defense was put in some tough spots, field position-wise for sure. And I think that had something to do with it. We got some stops early in the red zone with some short fields, and then we didn't play as well in the red zone. They made a couple plays in there that they ended up getting touchdowns on. So, that's what you do. You believe in your people, and we have really good people and good players. I thought a lot of the young guys stepped up. They got their opportunities that had never played before, and went out there in that environment and played well. You look at the individual performances, there's a lot of really good things there. And the things that, when I watched the tape, I felt better watching the tape. I can tell you that, a lot better watching the tape than I did standing on the sideline watching the game. I felt like there was a lot of really good play going on, and I think the things that were issues were very definable, and also sometimes a result of some real tight plays being made by them, in some situations. So those are plays that we just got to start making, get some turnovers, knock some balls loose, get some TFLs, create some things. We were a step from getting a couple sacks at times. I thought Pat did a good job of getting the ball out a few times, things like that. So, we're not too far away on defense. I really feel confident that we're going to play really good defense this year. I really am, and I know the fans hear that, and I hope they have a little bit of confidence in us that we've been down this road before a little bit. We do need to get healthy for sure. That's an important part of it as well. But also play with the guys that we've got, and let's go play some good defense.
Okay, Bobby. For one coordinator, you say I don't like the play calls. We didn't stick to the plan. Didn't like stuff at all. We were exposed. Talked about predictability, all that kind of stuff. And that's for the coordinator who has his team as the number 3 scoring offense. They used to be number 1. They've dropped, especially after playing the Chiefs. Then for the other coordinator, who's number 32 in points allowed, I have confidence in all my guys. I'm seeing it. It's all very sound. You believe in your people. That's what you're supposed to do. I've been watching the tape. We're not very far away. I feel confident. Why do you suspect these two different approaches?
Before I answer that, there was one other thing that stood out to me too in that answer that we just played. I feel better having watched the tape than I did watching it from the sidelines. Who is that? What is that serving? What is that comment serving, or who is that comment serving other than himself? I mean, we're all sitting here. We've watched both at this point. We didn't watch it from the sidelines, but we watched the TV copy and now the tape, and both tell a very similar story. So the only thing I can think of, Sarah, is that there is a level of loyalty and patience that comes with a 33-year-old coordinator who's in his second year. And that's maybe why there's been some grace. But to your point, the dichotomy in terms of where one unit ranks throughout the league through 4 weeks and where the other ranks bottom barrel through the 4 weeks is undeniable. And so while one guy is the scapegoat here and being thrown under the bus, and why another is essentially being absolved in a sense, is mind-boggling. It baffles me. And I don't think it's a good look. I don't think it's a good look at all. You go watch Kyle Van Noy's episode that dropped on the YouTube channel. You already knew it was coming. He barely spoke about the game, and I think a lot of that was strategic. He wanted to keep it about whatever happened around the league. He's clearly setting himself up for.
Gave props to Kyle Hamilton. Like, that was good.
Yeah.
And yeah.
Yeah. And like, you just want to keep it moving. He talked about the Ryder Cup. He talked about other games, viral moments, whatever. He's setting up his post NFL career. I think he wants to be in the media. Sarah, his demeanor, his body language, his tone on that podcast is the exact sentiment that's been shared and seen by this team, whether it be camera cuts in game, post game press conferences, you name it. There is a contagious, and it's not a good spirited spirit within this team right now. It's a cloud that's over this team. And when you have your head coach getting up there and in one breath backing his guy, and in another, somebody who ranks right now in terms of problems and issues at the bottom of the list, in my opinion, it just doesn't sit well at all.
Yeah, I don't think it sits well, and it certainly didn't sit well for everybody that was listening. It's like, it just felt so backwards. And again, what all the things he said about Todd Monken was true, although leaving himself out of the accountability a little bit. But when you get into the nitty gritty, it was true. Here, it's like, hey, we're close. We're so close. We're going to play good defense. And so I'm just trying to think through it myself of like, okay, why the dichotomy when clearly the offense is not like the overarching problem and the defense is. And I think you are correct and onto something that, there are certain projects, like you take on like the Vault, right? The Vault, we would call the Vault our baby, right? Like, it's our baby. We created this together. This is a project together. We will live and die for it. It's a little extreme, but a little exaggerated, but you know what I mean? It's like the Vault is our baby, right? Yeah. We're not going to let it fail. And he handpicked Zach Orr, and he did it early in his career, perhaps before he was ready. And maybe Harbaugh's realizing, oops, maybe he wasn't quite ready, but I can't let him fail. And so he's not mature. I'm not talking about emotionally mature. I'm talking about seasoned in his career. He's not mature in his career, meaning he's only been in this job for a little over a year. This is just his second year of doing it. So that's how I'm using the word mature. I'm not talking about him as a person. He's a very mature person. He's obviously been very successful in his life up until he's taken over this defense. And so, but like, his career isn't matured enough to where he feels like he can beat him down the way he could a more matured offensive coordinator who has been through this experience many times before. And so I don't know. So I'm like, is he looking at it as like a parenting and coaching role can kind of be similar, right? Where like, there's nothing that irks you more than wasted potential. Like there are sometimes you have a kid and you see all the talent in the world, and this kid could, like, sky's the limit if they could just get a few things in order, right? And so this kid is meaning in the entire offense. You have Lamar Jackson, you have Derrick Henry, you have the best receiving core of Lamar Jackson's NFL career. Still not one of the best ever in the NFL, but the best there. And so you see the potential, and then you go out there and we had a plan, and then like the potential's wasted. So that's where I'm wondering where he's coming from. It's just like, listen, we know what we're dealing with the defense. We have to build them up. They're still in like this infancy stage. They can't handle a beatdown. The offense and Todd Monken, they can handle a good scolding because they have so much potential. That's the only thing I can think of in addition to him, if Zach was just his early pick and his guy, and he's trying to build them up, and he's like, man, I can't be wrong about this early. Like, I can't let him fail this early. I wonder if it's the combination of those two things that made him do that, but that still leaves questions of why or how Todd Monken feels about all this.
Yeah, and I think this is a good time to segue to like the whole injury discussion, because while they're decimated, and in some ways they were decimated prior to things going south quickly the way that they have, to the point where, again, this is a sinking ship that they're desperately trying to keep above water. The excuses that come along with injuries, it's stale at this point. It's stale. Every team has injuries. And I think multiple people on the national level, Sarah, so far have commented on it related to the Nnamdi Madubuike setback. And we learned yesterday that Nnamdi, if you need to,
do we want to get to Rex Ryan first? Do we want to get to Rex Ryan before we transition to injuries while we're on the defense?
Sure.
I don't mean to throw you off.
No, it's okay. That's okay. Let's just talk real time. What are we thinking with the Rex clip? Let's just talk real time. Today was one of those days where we had a lot of conversations that didn't necessarily come in during our pre-show because it's that type of day. So how do we want to fit Rex into this?
Yeah. So I just want to put out there, yesterday we were talking about, what's John going to do? You asked on Twitter, right? You asked on Twitter, what's a realistic thing that's going to happen? And one of your options was that you let go of Zach Orr and promote Chuck Pagano, because there's not a better answer staring you right in the face for somebody that could take over defensive coordinator play calling duties. Mm-hmm. And the problem is well, you ran a clip where Pagano said he didn't want to be head coach. The next follow-up, which nobody's going to ask him this now, but the follow-up was like, okay, no head coach, but what about defensive coordinator? Like, do you have space in your life for that? We don't know if he does, but it sure looked to me that Rex Ryan has space for that, because on Get Up yesterday was Stephen A. Smith. He kind of visited the show, if you will. He was getting ready to do First Take. And he comes in and they're reacting to the Ravens defense. And Stephen A. starts talking about the ineptitude of this defense, but some defenses across the league, and how it was a crying shame that Rex Ryan wasn't leading one of them. And Rex didn't seem like he's like, nah. He wasn't like Chuck Pagano, where he's like, no, don't put that out there, Steve. In fact, he did something very different.
John Harbaugh, please don't get me wrong. The man is great. We know what he's accomplished in his career. We know what a leader he has been. No firing or anything like that.
Right.
But they've underachieved. And I don't want to hurt our network, because we love this man.
Mm-hmm.
But there are several teams out there that need this man to coach their defense. It is a crying damn shame that listen, I love you here. We love you here. We love you here. We love you here. We love you here. But there is, in all seriousness, when you see the level of ineptitude, how do you have coaches like him on television instead of running a program? There's too much ineptitude in the National Football League. And when you have people that have shown you no matter what, they know how to do it, all those injuries you pointed to, there is no way on earth you're going to give a debilitated defense, even one like that, to a Rex Ryan, and that defense is going to look the way the Green Bay Packers looked last night.
He meant to say, and the way the Baltimore Ravens looked, they had just talked about the Green Bay Packers. That's why he was on his mind. So he's like, there's no, and to your point, Bob, you talked about injuries and how it's not an excuse. And it could have been an excuse if it happened week one. But we saw the defense before the injuries happened, and the problems long predated it. The meltdown against the Buffalo Bills happened with Nnamdi Madubuike and a fully healthy defense. Now, here's Rex Ryan as he responds to what Stephen A. Smith said.
Honestly, when you see it, that defense is unrecognizable. Because it's the style of play, it's the scheme, it's everything. Like, this is not. Where's the Baltimore Ravens?
Where's the Baltimore Ravens? He should be asking that more than anybody, because he is a former Ravens defensive coordinator, obviously. But the way for the audio only people, when Stephen A. Smith was like, it's a crying shame that this man isn't coaching either the Ravens defense or another inept defense, Rex Ryan gets this Grinch-like evil grin on his face, digs his hand into his pocket, and pretends to pay Stephen A. Smith.
Yeah.
As if to say, thanks for being my agent, because clearly he sure is showing that he would love to coach defense again. And it was brought up in the context of the Ravens. Now, having said all that, there's no way, no how, pigs would be flying before Rex Ryan would return as the Ravens defensive coordinator, because A, we just saw that John Harbaugh has Zach Orr's back to the nth degree, and B, I'm shocked that they even coached together in the first place. I was shocked that Rex Ryan stuck around to be the defensive coordinator the first year that John Harbaugh was the head coach, because Rex Ryan, Bobby, I was in the building. Rex Ryan wanted that head coaching job. He wanted it so badly. He wanted to take over for Brian Billick. And I know that Steve Bisciotti didn't choose him because he told me this. He felt like the locker room was toxic and the defense looked down on the offense, and he wanted a whole team. And Rex Ryan fed into all that. But would I welcome a return of Rex Ryan? Why not? I mean, you're not getting any worse than 32, but it just isn't happening. It's not happening as much as Rex would love it.
You gave A and B, right? I'll give you C
Okay.
on top of those options. C, we know that since Rex has assumed the chair of a personality on ESPN, he has not exactly minced words about all 32 teams when he feels the need to. And that has obviously been the case in Baltimore as it pertains to his coverage since Zach took over. I'm thinking of a couple segments that we played last year as Zach was getting going. I'm thinking about once Mike McDonald took over as defensive coordinator. I can remember a direct quote. That hotshot coordinator in the first couple games when Mike Mack assumed the duties right after Wink Martindale was let go. I think John is well aware of what's said, even though he's not on social media. He's well aware. He reads everything, and he knows what's being said about his team, whether it's locally, nationally, or anywhere else in between. I think it would be a water and oil kind of combination between John Harbaugh and Rex Ryan being underneath John Harbaugh in the current way that this organization is built. Would it be better defensively with Rex in the building? Of course it would be better. The guy's one of the greats of all time when it comes to play calling of his generation. So whether or not he gets a legit opportunity, Sarah, he's been passed on a lot in recent years since he got into TV. I know he's had some interviews along the way in recent seasons, but he's been passed on. So, that's a part of the puzzle as well in terms of how he's viewed, perhaps, especially with some of the youthful infusion that's gone on in the NFL, not just at the head coaching level, but much like Zach got an opportunity at 32 years young. You referenced that he was the youngest defensive coordinator at the time of his hiring. I don't know if that's still the case, but he is 33, newly minted and then some. And we're seeing a lot of that, the patience that's required for somebody that is seen as, I'm sure, in John Harbaugh's eyes, a project, but a worthy project in John's eyes, which is probably what led to yesterday's press conference and that defense of a young guy that's still getting his feet underneath him. And then just to kind of finish that thought, we'll get in depth more into the injury details later on. But just to kind of where I was going with the Nnamdi Madubuike label and just sort of the injuries that can be seen as an excuse by some. Somebody put it best the other day, and it might have been Troy Aikman, I think, on Monday Night Football coverage, where he was like, look, or you know what? It was Greeny. It was Mike Greenberg on one of the Get Up shows recently, where he's like, look, it's no disrespect to Nnamdi Madubuike, who they've been without for the last 2 games. But are we calling him like the most generational player ever, that the Ravens went from a respectable defense, even though they weren't statistically prior to him going down, to a bottom barrel, like can't have it at all, like unacceptable? No, it's not an excuse. It's stale. It's something that the Ravens have to be able to overcome. Now, granted, now they're in a position where you're going to have more rookies, more inexperienced likely playing. Again, we'll get to those injury timelines of Marlon and Roquan and others moving forward. But again, Sarah, that is an outdated way of, I think, looking at this from an overly optimistic approach, and it's not serving anybody or anything, and the Ravens are going to have to find a way to get through it if they want to salvage this season.